Imagine a world where more women had the time to fully explore their genius. Welcome to She Rebel Radio, a community-driven podcast dedicated to supporting women leaders to unlearn conventional rules and create their businesses of significance. This is our International Women's Day Inspire series with our headline partners, NatWest. NatWest has been a pioneer in supporting women in business since 2019. We have 10 new guests sharing their stories with you to inspire, to educate, and to empower. As you navigate this series with us, I'd love for you to consider, what is inspiring you for 2024? How do you personally make it work as a woman in business? And what change would you make to your industry to inspire more inclusion of women? My name's Lulu Mins. I host retreats and create spaces for women leaders to explore their genius. And today, I'm going to create that same space right here for you on this podcast. Welcome to episode 134 of She Rebel Radio, Inspiring Your Beauty with Sarah Cross. Sarah is the co-founder and creator at Code Beautiful, who are rewriting the rules in the beauty industry, challenging the accepted standards, and helping women to create their own code of beauty. Instead of conforming to a single definition of beauty, with no fads or fairy tales, Code Beautiful creates outstanding products which simply do what they say they will do and enhance how we naturally look and feel. They've been shortlisted and won numerous awards, including trumping Charlotte Tilbury in the Beauty Bible Awards with their lip liner, and have won Best Makeup Brand for the over 40s, as well as Sarah winning Northwest Businesswoman of the Year. From making waves on QVC to building an empire through collaboration with their loyal customers, Sarah and her sister Emma are two Welsh sisters who've been shaking up the beauty industry for the last 10 years, especially for us women over 40. I've become a true fan of their products and their code. Sarah, it's amazing to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm great, thanks. How are you? Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, it's been, I've really loved connecting with you at Code Beautiful. So I would love to start with, you say beauty is universally understood but hard to define, and there's no single definition of beauty. Tell us more about that statement and how it has galvanized a movement really at Code Beautiful.
I think that's really just about how, over the years, brands have used retouched imagery, younger models, and we compare ourselves to people online, and being beautiful means different things to different people, and we should embrace what that means. So, I've got blue hair and I think that's beautiful. Some people would think it's not. But it's really about our group of women are about people who want to define their own code of beauty and not be told what they should look like, but create their own looks and get on with their busy lives.
Yeah, I love that. And that even comes from early school days, just with you saying about I've got blue hair. I remember certainly my cousin being kicked out of school for having pink hair. And we're kind of encouraged from a very young age as young women to conform, I guess.
Yeah, certain hair bubbles at school, certain styles of hair at school. And yeah, totally. And it's just, we need to define our own. I think things are changing. And since I launched Code Beautiful, I think now that, there are many more people that are embracing this. But, at our core is your code of beauty is entirely up to you. We just create the tools for you.
Yeah, I love that. And how has the beauty industry thrived, do you think, in making us as women have a crisis in our confidence and maybe invest in solutions that mean that we are conforming or adapting what is true to us and who we authentically are and how it is that we want to look?
Well, I mean, by creating problems that we think we need to fix. The fitness industry are particularly awful for that. And you just feel like I'm dieting again at the moment. And, you feel like you've got to look a certain way, you've got to be a certain way. And, you panic because you don't look like everybody else, especially, I'm going through the menopause. And when that happens, your skin goes back to how it was when you were a teenager. And all of those things create problems that we feel like we need to fix.
Yeah, and they market on the premise of those problems, don't they?
They
And we
do.
yeah, and we know running a business that old style marketing does say, talk about the problem, talk about the problem.
Yeah, I mean, for us, some of our products do solve problems, but they're problems that women have gone, "Oh, Sarah, I really wish there was a really great product that did this," and we get it on the list. and we work on it collaboratively with them.
And your first product was a mascara. How did that happen? And how did you and your sister start a business together?
So I used to mix three mascaras together and I was always disappointed. And there was never like the perfect one. And I was like, how crazy is it that there isn't the perfect one? So it started off as a bit of a childish mission. Emma and I had another business and over in Manchester, and all the girls in the office, we used to go and buy all of the mascaras from Selfridges and Superdrug, and we would try them all. And we would score them on all different things: length, volume, how long they lasted, did they smudge or run or flake? And we found the best two in the world. And we said, right, we can make these are great mascaras, but we can make something that ticks all of the boxes. So that's how it started.
Yeah.
Um, Over, a little challenge of why should we have to mix mascaras? Why should we see the advert that's generally been retouched and then feel disappointed? And Emma and I had worked together, God, for years before I set my first business up in 2008, and chipped away at Emma. She's opposite to me, so Emma's very operational, and we work really, really well together. We complement each other.
I've heard that Walt Disney, I think, worked with his brother, and one of them was a visionary, and he was obviously the visionary, and then his brother, I think it was brother or family member, was more the operations or the logistics.
When you're so opposite like that, it does work. I mean, don't get me wrong, it has its challenges, but I think the really great thing is because we're sisters, we can say stuff that we maybe wouldn't feel is politically correct to say to somebody that we weren't related to, but then get past it straight away. So forget it, and the next day it's all gone. So
Yeah.
we've got a very open relationship, which I think is really important. My dad and my mom is actually involved in the business as well. So my dad was in manufacturing his whole career, and for the first, oh God, maybe 5, 6 years of the business, we outsourced all of the logistics and warehousing. And then I was like, this can't be rocket science. Dad, you've been in manufacturing your whole career. I know you're retired. Come out of retirement and set up for us the slickest system. And we have the slickest warehousing system and logistics in place ready for us to scale. So yeah, mum and dad are involved too.
Yeah, and it really is a family business then. And I have to say, when I have made orders too recently, they've arrived super quick.
They are Speedy Gonzales. Honestly, you've typed it, you've hit go, and it's out of the door as quick as it
Yeah.
comes in.
And definitely true what you say about mascaras, because even when I found good ones, then they're really hard to get off.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love the product that you've created. Now, you mentioned you had a first business, and I know that you had a background kind of in corporate before that. Tell us a bit more about your background and how that part of your journey really has supported you to become the businesswoman that you are today.
So I'm almost 30 years into consumer engagement, customer loyalty, working with customers to give them the best experience. So I grew up in the Middle East, which I think really gave me a great foundation. I went to an international school and started a business out there with somebody, and it really gave me the opportunity. That kind of one of our core values is be enterprise and be ethical and be congruent, and that sort of haggling me to make sure we're giving the best possible value to everybody and in the most sustainably and ethical way probably came from my upbringing there. And then when I came back to the UK, I worked for various different businesses. The last business I worked for before I worked for myself was GHD. So I was head of global loyalty and strategy. So I looked after all of the customer service teams, and anything that would involve communicating with the customer came through my department. And I loved working for GHD, but I was like 29 and I just really wanted to have my own business. So I set up Uber when I was 30, way before the cabs.
Mm.
Um, and Uber was a customer loyalty business that worked with, God, everyone from Diesel, Ted Baker, Michael Kors to HSBC, Bank of America, with engaging the consumer, taking care of the customer, making sure we delivered on our promises. So that's really been my background. So all of that set me up perfectly, really, for creating Code Beautiful. And I think the reason we have such an engaged audience is the customer. I mean, people say, "Oh, the customer is at the center of our business." The customer is really bang in the middle of everything that we do.
Yeah, I love that. I talk to women frequently about how your genius evolves, and it's in everything that you do over the course of your career. And I think, you've just given a really beautiful example there of customer loyalty and how that has been in everything that you've done. And you've really galvanized that in Code Beautiful in your own business. And it sounds like you've always been super entrepreneurial as well.
Yeah, I think that's the Middle Eastern haggle in me. It was a great experience. I lived in Dubai for 7 years. So my most sort of influential years of last years of school and college. And I go back. Lily absolutely loves it. My daughter, I go back there a couple of times a year.
Perfect. So, in the early days of your business, you had a regular slot on QVC. What were some of your business highlights from those early days at Code Beautiful?
Oh God, that was so much fun. So it's self-financed the business. We've never had any external investors come in. So in the early days and still now, one of the biggest challenges is cash. So QVC was fantastic for us because I love presenting and I love speaking to people. I always have. In my previous business, I'd been up on stage speaking to thousands of people all over the world, and I really loved it. So QVC for me was a really big challenge. I would get so nervous before I'd go on air, and you'd hear the producer counting you in to go live. And whilst you were presenting, they were talking in your ear, giving you the right words to say, what are customers calling up about, and what have you. And it was intense, but it gave me such a buzz. I'd be springing out of that studio once the live slot was done. And we had sellout shows pretty much every show that I did, which was amazing. So it sold a lot of products really, really quickly.
Yeah, amazing. And that you've self-funded your business and learnt around the cash flow aspects as well.
Yeah, that has been probably quite a big challenge. I probably underestimated that when I first started the business.
Yeah, and women tend to have less access to venture capital and tend to bootstrap more. Did you
Yeah,
not access capital because it's just not something you thought about, or was it not accessible?
I just didn't want to give away any equity too early until I created enough value in the business. And it's tricky bootstrapping, but I'm in complete control of what we do. Emma and I we're very agile because we're a small business and we're able to make decisions, to work with our customers, to change things. And I think when you get investors in, it just puts added pressure on you to behave differently. And I think for as long as I possibly can, I want to maintain the way that we work, that entrepreneurial, agile, being able to change with what the customer needs very quickly.
Yeah, and with that, in terms of being agile, you shifted the business to be a real evolution into a true collaboration with your customers. How do you engage and listen to your customers, and how does that align with some more of your core values, which you've already shared some of them with us?
So, I mean, we work with our customer right from the beginning. So, I think I mentioned just a minute ago, customers say to us, right, we want this product. So we can't find a product like me with the mascara. We couldn't find the perfect one. We want a product that does X. And then we get them involved in the process. So we have a closed community of women, and we go out to them and say, right, guys, what are you looking for? They tell us what they need. And then we take maybe 100 of them on the journey with us of a product, which could take 2 years. And they get involved in testing the product before it goes live. So, for example, when we launched FFL, our lash primer, and when I developed it, we were happy with it internally. Our friends and family tried it, they all loved it. Then we put it out to this group of women, and they said, we love this product, it's amazing, but Sarah, can you change the color? And I was like, oh, well, I never thought about that. And it was white, it's a lash primer. And I was like, yeah, absolutely, we can change the color. So right at the very last minute, pre-production, we changed it from white to beige. So that's an example of really listening and working with our customers. They come up with the names of products, they help me with pricing. I'm developing an eyeliner at the moment, and they've all been helping me with which types of eyeliner shades they love, what kind of finish they want, and the whole process. And so while I'm developing a product, we're communicating with each other about what they need. But then when I've got it ready to go, they're testing it with me before it goes out to the market.
Yeah, and I think what's really important that you said there, it's from the beginning of the process. It's not bringing customers in halfway through.
No, it's right from the beginning. I've got a long list. If going back to investment, if I did have huge amounts of cash, I've got a long list of new products ready to go.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, and I know you absolutely refuse to compromise on the quality of your products. They do what they say and more. Why was that so important to you?
I mean, it's a big statement to make, isn't it? You know, we help people feel naturally vibrant every day and we produce beauty products that do what they say they will. It's a really big statement and it really puts us under a lot of pressure to make sure that every single product does deliver on its promises. And I think the real main driver for me was as a consumer, I was sick of seeing the ads. You know, oh, wow, that sounds amazing. That looks amazing. You'd buy the product, get it home, and it would never do what it promised. It was
Mm,
always a letdown. So you've and I think that's why over the years, you know, beauty and cosmetics has been quite an experimental purchase, particularly mascara. But now we have women that have worn our mascara for the last 10 years and would never wear anything else. And I think that that's why when people buy one of our products, they repeat purchase it and they tell all their friends about it because, you know, I don't have an NPD team that have got a budget to flog out loads of products every year. I develop the products myself with the customers. And so they have to deliver on their promises. So they, by the time they get to market, they tick all of the boxes that the customer wanted in the first place.
yeah, and the amount of makeup I think all of us as women have had over the years that you've bought and never finished using because it just
What a
doesn't.
waste. Yeah.
Yeah, what a waste. It just doesn't do what you thought it would do. So
We
your
have a
mate.
money back guarantee. Sorry, we have a money back guarantee, but it's rarely used.
Yeah, and I know that your main demographic of clients are women over 40, and we know quality. Age is a process of refinement. So tell us what are some of your top and multifunctional products? I love both LLE and HGT. What do they do, and why are they fab for women over 40?
So LLA is like it flies out. It's always selling out. It is the most multitasking, amazing product. So that's a really great example of how a product evolves. So we made that because I've got one hooded eye, and my mum, when she was younger than me, had eye surgery to lift her hooded eye, and I didn't want to do that. The thought of it just made me feel sick. But obviously, I couldn't create a product that was going to be exactly like surgery, but I wanted something that would be the next best thing. So it was originally made, it's called Lid Lift Enhance, as a lid lifting concealer for the eyelids to help brighten, smooth, doesn't sit in fine lines. But then over the years, people are like, oh my God, I use this product all over my face. It covers my rosacea, my veins, my pigmentation. I use it for my dark circles. I don't wear foundation anymore. It's completely replaced my foundation. Then the deeper shade is used to bronze and contour on white skin tones. So it's really probably the most multitasking product out there on the market, and it's our biggest seller. It's great for women over 40 because it just doesn't sit in their lines, and less is more. So it lasts absolutely ages.
Amazing. What about HGT?
So HTG, I'm so sorry about all these code names. We've set ourselves up every time we make a new product. We've got to think of three letters now. And
Yeah.
as the
Although I
range
love
grows,
how
it
that
gets
ties.
harder to remember.
Yeah, but I love how that ties in with your brand, right? It's all about the
It does,
code.
yeah, it does. So HTG, Hydrate, Tint and Glow, is really that get up and glow. So if you're doing the school run in the morning and you just haven't got time to do anything, HTG, you can do lips, eyes and cheeks. It's a flush of color, very natural glow, and it's just gorgeous. Comes in three shades. It suits everybody, but it's great for women over 40 because it's not powder. It gives you, you know, when you go through the menopause, you lose your glow. You sort of get almost like a gray tinge to the skin. You lose that brightness, and HTG just brings it back in an instant.
Yeah, and I love what I love about your products, and I've been a little bit addicted since I connected
Mhm.
with you guys, is that you can use it, and I feel like that's a real kind of feminine based principle in terms of very intuitively and create different looks by combining things and really creating your own code as you say, but it could be different on different days. So I love that intuitive and kind of collaborativeness
I, I
of
think
of your
also
products.
for us, it's, you know, women over 40, you know, we're in the prime of our life. We've got this inner confidence that we never had when we were younger, and we've got better things to do with our time than to mess about with makeup. You
Yeah.
know, but we do just want a handful of products that gives us a little bit of a spring in our step, that sets us up for the day, helps us feel naturally vibrant, that we don't have to spend lots of time. I do mine in the car sometimes on the way. I shouldn't say that, should I? On the way to school, with my fingers, I apply it. There's no brushes, there's no spending loads of time. It's quick, easy, fast results.
Yeah, yeah. And that you can use your fingers and things like that is, I know
Mhm.
that I'm kind of HTG is something that I don't want to leave the house without just having it in my bag. And I do
Yeah,
videos online, as you do, which we're going to talk about in a minute. It's just great just to give your face a little lift before you jump on and face the world.
it is.
So you are the face of the business. As you said, your sister does the operational part of the business, and you are, out there doing makeup tutorials. That's, what I saw when I connected with you, and love the authenticity of that. And you're there engaging with your community. How has that supported your business growth and identity?
I think people feel like it's a breath of fresh air. Although a lot of the corporate brands, the bigger brands are now sort of trying to copy that, but it doesn't come across as authentic. It's quite curated.
Yeah.
For us, I went down the route of spending thousands on makeup artists and videos that are edited and produced, and that's not really what people want to see. They want to see somebody like me that hasn't really slept very well and been up with the dog and the little one early, and I look a bit tired, and I throw a few products on and I look better than I did before I started the video. And I think I don't edit them, so if I make a mistake, like I did one the other day, I dropped my mascara on the floor. We've all been there and done it. I don't edit that out. I leave it in because it's just normal real life. And I'm quite honest and open and down to earth. Very honest about my journey, about who I am. And yeah, I think people just love that. They just love the fact that, and also, you don't want to see something that's perfect. We don't want, because again, it goes back to one of your earlier questions about, people and brands forcing us to be something that we're not. I am real. I'll walk the dog and do a video. I'll be in my bathroom downstairs. I'll be here in the office, and I've got no makeup on, and then I just put a few products on, and I think people want to see how it really looks.
Yeah, and I think there you see as well that it really works rather than it being some super polished. And I know what you mean in terms of the bigger brands, but again, it's too curated, too polished, a massive team, probably of God knows how many people with lighting and everything, and it
Yeah,
doesn't really shift the dial enough
it
at
doesn't.
all. No. Um, so, how do you personally make it work as a woman in business, with your little one, with the dog? And what change, I imagine, the beauty industry, is it female dominated? Or what shifts can happen to inspire more inclusion of women, do you feel, in the industry?
It's tricky to juggle, but I've always juggled. So, I've always been a solo parent. And so you just have to have a system that works. And I have to carve out my time to make sure that, Poppy, my lab, gets what she needs. Lily, my little girl, gets what she needs. And I've just been rereading actually the 4 hour work week just to remind myself that I don't need to keep myself busy with unimportant things. I need to focus on the really important things, not the urgent things. Um, but I think the cosmetics industry is, a great place for women to be and to work. And I think that we do dominate the industry. I think when it comes, you mentioned venture capitalists, and that's very male, private equity, very male dominated. And we are starting to see a lot more women and a lot more funds specifically for women, which I'd like to explore more in the future when we're ready for that. But I think we are a very female dominated place, and it's nice to see. And there are women at the top that are making decisions in our industry, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and it's important that I feel like there's been a real shift across the board that women are making products for women instead of men
Yeah,
and, capitalists making products for us.
you do still get that, but I think the kind of brands that are doing that are the brands that are not succeeding, or the brands that are very discount driven, and there's no emotional relationship with the brand.
Yeah, yeah, and I wonder the shift that we'll see over the next 20 years in terms of, those kind of things fading out, although there'll always be a demographic. What have been some of your biggest challenges on your business journey, and what have you learnt about yourself?
I think I mentioned before, cash for me is one of the things that I underestimated. So my other business, Uber, was based on time. So, we would charge out time to deliver projects, and there was only so many hours in the day. Whereas in this business, it's about supply and demand of products. So last year was our biggest year ever, and in fact, we're already up 60% this year what we did on last year, which is insane. But we sold out of everything really quickly, and we sort of hit the tipping point, and that was a massive learning curve for me. So we had to go in production several times during the year, which cost a huge amount of money. Historically, I'd managed to do one or two production runs and self finance it, and it worked time wise. And then when we sold out of absolutely everything, I was in a position where I needed a huge amount of money to fund production and demand for product. So that was really tricky. And I guess when I started the business, I maybe naively didn't consider the fact that the bigger you got, the harder the cash became.
Yeah, yeah,
I think naively thought that it would get easier. You generate more revenue, you become a multi-million pound business, it becomes easier. But actually, it doesn't. It becomes harder because the cash demand is harder. So I'm still trying to maintain this self-financed position for as long as I possibly can. But I think that's probably been my biggest challenge. And also, again, back to the menopause, I keep harping on about it to everybody at the moment. So I think more people should talk about it. But
yeah.
we, as women, go through a bit of a confidence crisis. So last year, before I started my HRT, I really went through a confidence crisis. And as the business was scaling so rapidly, I thought to myself, there must be someone younger and more knowledgeable that can do this digital marketing piece better than me. So
Yeah.
I went out to some of the top experts, well, supposedly top experts, spent ridiculous amounts of money with these, people who talk the talk, but when it came down to it, didn't walk the walk. And I learned a very, very expensive lesson of I know what I'm doing in my business better than anybody else, and there isn't anybody out there younger than me that can do it better than I can. And so I think now I'm on my HRT, I've got my confidence back, and I think that I needed to go on that journey, costly journey, but needed to go on that journey to learn that actually I've got this, and what I really need to do is build a bigger team around me in house, and not go and look for so-called experts that have a lot to say but nothing to deliver.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Needing more support around you, but you are
Yeah,
still the leader of
yeah.
what it is that you do. And with the demographic that Code Beautiful bring in, it's that more authenticity as well. Thank you for sharing that lesson. Now, 2024, as you said, it started off as an amazing year for you with more growth, but as you've also highlighted, with that comes challenges. What are you feeling inspired by this year, and where can we find you?
Okay, so I am top of my list working on what's important and what's not urgent and unimportant, because I think I've been guilty. We're all guilty of doing that. And the other thing I'm really inspired by that I've just started to get into over the last 12 months is cold water therapy.
Hmm.
I love it. I think you'll find me before your social challenge, you'll find me in a lake or in the sea, or in my ice bath at home. I think it's really beneficial for people, and I'm really enjoying that. And the less is more that we bring into our makeup, I think I'm bringing into my life. I've been getting rid of clutter at home. Less is more in everything that I do. I think I'm incorporating that as a concept.
Yeah.
And in terms of social, you can find Code Beautiful everywhere: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I'm personally on LinkedIn. So, yeah, that's where you can find us.
Yeah, amazing, Sarah. I will connect with you on LinkedIn actually. I use LinkedIn as a platform. And can you just share with us a little bit more in terms of, for the listeners, when you say focusing on what's important rather than what's urgent, what do you mean, or how do you apply a filter to that?
So, I use Teams to manage my tasks. And sometimes I've got so many tasks that are quite urgent in that they need to be done. But actually, when you stand back and look at the business overall picture, they're not important. They're not going to achieve our goals. They're, the admin side of life that we maybe create for ourselves. And the important things are the really big things that are going to hit those, three or four goals that you've got for the year. And if you can focus on, I always say that actually, if I can first focus on the things that's going to get us closer to our goals, and then I can do those little urgent, unimportant tasks later on in the day, then at least I've used my day more productively.
Yeah, amazing. It's focusing on those big picture goals. I quite often do what are the top 3 things that you need to do today, and then the little things can weave around that.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday I spent the entire day from 9 in the morning till 11:30 with a break for Pilates and a break for lunch, doing an integrated P&L cash flow and forecast for the next 2 years. And it is something that's so important for the business, but I put it off and put it off and put it off because it's not something that I can tick off my list quickly. It's quite a big task to do. So things like that are really important and really get us closer to our goals, and doing them first and focusing on that. And I didn't get distracted yesterday by any of the little so-called urgent things that came in.
Yeah, so it's kind of blocking out that chunk of your time to do that without the
Yeah,
distractions.
yeah.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing, Sarah. And
Thank
it's
you.
been amazing to have you on She Rebel Radio.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
You've been listening to She Rebel Radio. We thank you for listening and thank our headline partners NatWest for sponsoring this series. If this episode has inspired you, please pass it on and share with at least one other incredible woman, and don't forget to hit subscribe and leave us a review. You can find out more about me and my work at lulumins.com or on most social media platforms.